Thanks for watching us here at WOWBIZ Super Quiz. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. Before I invite you to meet my guests, my contestants tonight, I want to share a little bit of a story with you. About 3 years ago, I was working with some executives on a strategic planning session. It was a very interesting group, and we were really getting into it, and people were talking about strategy. We should do this, we should do that, right? People were saying, well, we should change the product. Other people say, no, the distribution system is the real issue. Somebody else said, no, the pricing is the key issue. In the middle of this entire mix, it was really interesting and creative, but right in the middle of this conversation, one executive that I personally know, and he's become kind of a friend of mine, said, wait a minute. He said, all I want to know is, how do we get to wow? How do we get to wow? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've gotten to wow right now. Welcome to WOWBIZ Super Quiz. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. Let's go meet our guest. Yeah! What do you think? Awesome. All right, thanks for joining us. And I'm going to come over here and chat with two guys, very interesting guys, quite different in their backgrounds. It's a pleasure to have you both here. Why don't you tell everybody, yeah, thank you. You're ringing my bell already, right?
Nice.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Jason Bryan. I do a variety of things. One of the biggest things that I do for myself is I have a company called Help Consulting Firm. And so with that firm, it's a local Omaha business. And
yes.
We go around and we kind of help people as needed. One of the last places that we've worked for was a restaurant that was looking to franchise. And so we went through and basically helped them to develop all their operations manuals, help them to develop all of their training, help them to look through their financials to see, where their successes are, where their downfalls are, and then kind of how to meld everything together to get it exportable for...
And make it franchisable.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Get it exportable for customers looking for a great opportunity to make some money. So.
Good, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. That's fascinating, and I'm so glad we finally hooked up and got you on the show.
Yeah.
All right, now we got another guest. Well, let's learn who he is.
My name is David Sawyer, and I'm the Economic Development Director for the city of Burwell, Nebraska.
Burwell,
so out
all
in
right.
Central Nebraska.
Yes.
And so if any of your candidates for businesses are looking for opportunities in a great tourist town like Burwell, just give me a call.
I have a fond memory of Burwell when I was a young man over in Iowa. I was on the farm and we raised cattle.
Yep.
And every year my father would throw me in the pickup truck and make an 8-hour trek to Burwell, to the auction barn up in the Burwell area.
Okay.
And that was a great experience for me and my late father. We really enjoyed that trek. So.
Yeah, Burwell obviously is an ag-based community,
right.
But we're also blessed with a little bit of extra business because of tourism.
Yeah, you have natural resources.
Lake, Nebraska's a big rodeo. Right. Tanking, tubing, hunting, fishing, it's awesome.
We're gonna talk a little bit more about that. But Jen, are you ready to get started on WOWBIZ Super Quiz? Huh?
Ready.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. And now, before we get going too far into this, everybody wants to know what the deal is with our bells here. Why don't you go ahead and hit the bell a couple times? Oh, sounds great. You have a great style there as you do that. This first one is actually a speed question. So the first person to hit the thing. By the way, I have to complete the question before you hit it. All right, just so you know. But that will be the person that will have a slight edge because they'll be able to speak first. But this is WOWBIZ Super Quiz question number 1. Okay, the process of getting a sales prospect. All right, this is something we all think about all the time, and getting them ready to pitch and actually close and get the transaction deal has taken longer and longer and longer over time. It's really spread out. We're going to talk about that a little more later on. What would be your best guess as to how much longer it takes to convert a casual sales prospect into a hot lead ready to pitch? Jason, I think you beat him by a half a second.
You can actually answer.
All right, now we're going to see. Go ahead. I want to hear your answer on this one.
All right,
Jason.
so honestly, this is not my forte when it comes to this. My guess is that, really, I'm just guessing here. So I'm going to say maybe, for depending on the product, something big, 3 days, and now it has gone to maybe a week and a half.
Give me a percentage. How much longer on a percentage basis is the sales cycle has it become on a percentage basis?
I'd say 35%.
All right. I'd love to hear your response.
Well, first of all, I was just going to say I think it totally depends on the level of product. If it's an expensive product, people are going to want more information, develop
It's a great point. You're absolutely
greater relationships.
But this is kind of in the middle, you know.
Yeah,
We're averaging.
Yeah, and I think because of the, there's so much parity between products in the industry, I think it takes time to develop relationships. So developing the relationship is what's going to take the time.
And how much longer does it take to build a sales relationship? That's the gist of the question.
I'm guessing because of all the noise and feedback in the industry, depending on what industry it is, probably 20-30% more.
32%.
Is that right?
32%. So I'm going to give you that one because you're only 3 points off.
Yeah.
You were awful close,
Yeah.
but he went out and stuck it out there. And you did it for
all right.
35%. Very close, Jason. Hey, you know, I got to give you both credit for that. There are guys that would have said, 300%, or somebody would have said 2 or 3%. So you were right in the money there. You're both very realistic in your assessment of that. All right, here we're going to do. This is a different deal. You walk into a business networking event. We've all done this before, right? And you're in the mood, you're kind of gregarious, you're looking around, maybe you've got a cup of coffee or a drink or something, and you look over there on the other side of the room and you see somebody that, you kind of know, you've seen around and chatted with before now and then. And this person, when he sees you or she sees you, walks away, kind of walks to the other end of the room, all right? Interesting situation. What is I'm gonna start with you, David Sawyer. What is your response to that? What do you think is the best thing to do under those rather awkward circumstances?
Well, if indeed I knew that they saw me and then walked the other way.
Assume that's true.
Okay, then I would probably not approach them right now, but come back later.
Okay, and why?
So,
what would you assume? That they just simply didn't want to talk to you, or what would be the thing?
or else they had something else on their mind, that they were somebody else that they wanted to talk to at the time.
Okay.
So I would just, approach it more casually a few minutes later or later in the event.
Okay, you wouldn't push it.
Yeah.
All right. Jason, what do you think? Well, how would you handle it, sir?
So, first question, how hard did I kick their dog?
So have I done anything to offend them? Is that what you're going through your head? Yeah.
No, honestly, I mean, David hit it on the head, is that you don't press it, especially in an environment like that. You never know. They could have another meeting that they've got to attend, and they know that they're going to get caught up in a long conversation with you, or maybe they got to go to the restroom or something like that.
Yeah.
Usually what I would do is I would just wait it out through that event, and if I see them again, get the opportunity to go and speak to them, then you do it. If not, then that's when calls and emails and everything that we're doing to build these relationships, that's where you start leaning on those resources.
I see. Okay, so you would say back off a little bit, but try to retain some interaction with them. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. I think I'm going to go ahead with you on that one, Jason. I think you've nuanced that pretty well, and I'm going to go ahead with that.
Now, if you did know them pretty well, then I would probably just chase them down.
Or confront them or something and say, "What's up, man?"
Yeah, that's
if
right.
you had that kind of casual relationship. Okay.
David's coming in for bonus points here with the elbow drop.
All right, now we got a tough one now. Buyers no longer buy a product. Here's a quote pulled out of Fast Company magazine recently. They buy a better version of themselves. They don't buy a product, they buy a better version of themselves. Jason, tell me, what does that mean? And do you agree or disagree?
Well, I totally agree, and I think that goes into, really what the 4 core human drives are, right? You have the drive to acquire, to bond, to, a few, really there's a few more, and then feel. And a lot of that, when you're buying something, you're really looking forward to the future. You're looking for how that product specifically is going to get you
when you use it.
That and get you to your end goal, right? We all have goals, we all have drives, and,
sure.
Getting products and getting things helps us to meet that goal in the future. And
Great
that's
job.
what we're looking
And
for.
by the way, you do some training and development. I can tell that you're definitely that kind of a guy.
I talk
David,
too much.
that's right. David, tell me what you think about buying. You don't buy a product, but you buy a better version of yourself.
That question reminds me of when I worked in marketing in the past and developing marketing campaigns. One product that we were marketing was for senior citizens.
Yes.
And we never, the characters or the models that we used in all of our advertising tended to be 15, 20 years younger than our target audience, because most of us, we all tend to see ourselves, particularly when they get to be my advanced age, we tend to see ourselves as younger, or want to see ourselves as younger than we really are.
Absolutely.
And so if we saw somebody with a product that doesn't look like us, we don't think that it looks like us, then we're not going to relate to that.
Right, so flatter me, Mr. You say the marketers flatter me, make me feel better and look better insofar as how I'm concerned. I think that the specificity of his answer is pretty good. Good example. So you win us on that one. You won number 3. Listen, we're approaching a critical time in our dialogue. I'm really enjoying this conversation with my contestants here. But I do want to chat with you just a little bit about the sponsor of WOWBIZ Super Quiz. They're named Curzon Promotional Graphics. Curzon Promotional Graphics is located here in the Omaha, Nebraska area. They're an outstanding graphics firm. So I just want to quickly say, if you're looking for graphics, and whether it's design or signage or trade show background material, all that kind of stuff, make sure that you do check out our good friends at Curzon Promotional Graphics and thank them for sponsoring WOWBIZ Super Quiz. Huh? Good idea? Good idea. Absolutely. All right. All right. We're going to get back to the show here. You know, today's business leaders are focusing less on financial statements and P&L and even less on technology, not as much on data as we might think, but they're focusing more on the customer's state of mind, their state of mind. So it's an interesting thing to come up to a manager or an owner and say, so what's the customer's state of mind these days, all right? So I would like to begin with you, Jason, since you are, I think, great in training and development, to tell me, what do you think? Now, we're generalizing about all the American, consumers here, so obviously there's many variables, and they do vary. But what do you think the buyer's state of mind in America today is? Can you help us do that in terms that make some sense as you generalize it down a little bit?
Yeah, so, really, again, it depends on the product and it depends on the person, but most of us want to relate our values to what it is that we are supporting.
Yes,
so,
very interesting.
That's where our culture is heading to right now. And so as companies do things, really there's more of a focus on relating their own cultural values inside of that firm to what it is that their consumers are wanting. And
okay, so they got to make sure that they kind of figure out what the consumer's values are.
Exactly.
Right? But that's what you would call, so the mood and the attitude, then let's find a word to describe what you've just said, because I think it's very insightful, you're trying to get a sense of, it's almost exploratory or discovery.
So it's really what that is it's
purpose-oriented?
It is purpose-oriented. It's value-oriented to a specific market segment that you are targeting.
Good, cool. I think that's really interesting. David Sawyer, tell me what you think the state of mind is. Let's say, for instance, somebody's going to open a new company or a new business or whatever, and they think they're going to sell a lot of whatever it is, and you're going to wander in as the economic development director of the area and say, I'm just thinking about your inventory here and the products you're getting. What is the state of mind that you think your customers have that would lend them to be interested in buying here?
Right. Or what is your story that you want to tell about your company, your product, or your organization that's going to help you stand out from everything else that's out there? Because I think a lot of our consumers today, they're looking for, as Jason said, they're looking for a reason to do business with you. Whether that's why we see a lot of companies marketing not only their products but their cause. A lot of cause marketing, a lot of things that they do to help the environment, to help communities. And so particularly for the younger generations, that's very important. It's more than just the shoe that they're buying. It's what is that shoe company doing with their profits.
Now, I'm going to interrupt this because both of you are kind of going in the same direction, which is kind of cool. You're talking about the importance of purpose and values. You're talking about cause. Right?
Well,
these are rather similar.
I think a lot of companies and organizations, they need to get better at telling their story.
I
compelling
totally agree.
way.
Well, and that's where, so with Simon Sinek, he wrote the book Start With Why, and that's why that book is so popular right now, and really why it holds so much value is because of how true it is. Our why, a company's why, is really what is driving them in a marketplace to capture specific consumer values and ideals and things that they want, and that's why they're coming in and they're buying it, and that's exactly what it is. It's telling a story of why, telling people why they exist, why it matters, and why it matters that they're purchasing from them as opposed to one of their
Now let me ask a quick question here, because this is a really important point. I'm going to go down this road, and by the way, I think you've led our conversation in the right direction. I appreciate this. If there are three components to a sale, generally speaking, logic, what was I going to say? And credibility, all right, and storytelling. Three components right there for the perfect pitch. Which one of those three, logic, your credibility, or your storytelling ability, is most important in your opinion, David Sawyer?
I think the storytelling gets the attention. So starting with that, but then you got to back it up with the credibility and the logic.
Okay, but storytelling, you'd say strong at the beginning. You got to have that at the beginning.
Otherwise, you don't get their attention.
Don't have much. Okay. What do you think, Jason? That's interesting.
So I know maybe, with proper game show things, I should pick something else that's different, just maybe so I win. But honestly, I think he's right. I think that a lot of it comes from storytelling first. And obviously it's dependent on who the consumer is, what the product is, what the company is. Okay. Storytelling is the most important. Second would be credibility, and then third would be logic. And that's because storytelling hits the heart, credibility reinforces the heart, and logic dictates why your heart feels the way that it does.
I love these answers. I got to tell you, both are doing an outstanding job on this question. You can see I kind of dove into it a little bit with you. Well, I do have to point this out as we go into the next question, which is most sales managers and most marketing managers are not doing precisely what you've just shared with us. Right. They're not emphasizing storytelling. It may or may not be part of the pitch, but generally speaking, they're going to get the logic and the features up front and maybe try to back it up with a sales story to prove that they're right. That's a very interesting thing that we just stumbled on, and the fact that you placed a priority on. Now I want to talk about a brand new trend. I mentioned this to an association of association executives, the Society of Association Executives, and I said we've got to pay a close attention to what Google's doing, what Facebook is doing, Uber, Airbnb, all these different companies, and what they have created is a platform. I just want everybody on the set to think about this one word, platform, because it's a massive new, I call it paradigm for lack of a better word. But I threw it out to the people that were in the audience, and they looked at me quizzically, like, why in the world would I care about a platform? So I would like you to start, Jason. Tell me briefly now, what is a platform, and why would people care about it? And I'm going to ask David Sawyer exactly the same thing.
So really a platform is, it's any base that you're launching from, right? And so that means that generally when we're talking about marketing, we're talking about launching our ideas or our products or again our values or our stories into the minds and hearts of consumers, right? And so those platforms, they become important because that's really what we're using to be able to capture the audience that we are segmenting.
So is it different than a set of tools? We've always had a set of tools, a set of a program or whatever. What is a platform? If I talk to a Google executive right now, would he say anything different than that? I'm going to go to David. Go ahead.
When I hear the word platform, in my mind, I think community. And so it's a community. And so that's what, FaceTime or Facebook or any of those social media platforms, they're a community of people that are targeted and that appeal to a certain demographic.
Good.
And so
I'm going to elaborate on this because there's so many people that are struggling with this, and yet they've heard it so many times. Part of the community thing is very close, and of course the values and all the things coming together, but the notion is to be able to get buyers and sellers of all sorts up on your platform, have them do business with each other, and have you collect a percentage of the transactions or derive some value from their interaction. It's not just, hey, everybody, come on up and come onto my website and hang out. Yeah. A platform really is encouraging commercial or value-added interaction.
But it still drives and motivations based. And so even inside of that, people are going to Google initially to search for something, right?
Yes,
so they have a drive to be able to get on there. Yes. People that are using Airbnb or Uber have a drive or have a basic need. And so these platforms really give us the ability to, like you were saying, to focus on those specific relationships that are community-based on a specific drive that they have.
Exactly.
A specific
David, you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, as follow-up to that is, most businesses are not really trying to market to the whole world.
Yeah.
And in fact, if they tried to do that, they would waste a lot of their marketing dollars and efforts. They're segmenting the market if they're smart, and they're targeting who their audience is. Right. Airbnb is not trying to market to the whole travel community. There's a certain segment that they're targeting. Yes. And so you need to know who your market is and then segment your marketing accordingly and spend the money and the promotion and the efforts in that direction. And different platforms will attract different communities, and one or more of which may or may not be who you're needing to spend time on.
Would you agree with that?
Completely, wholeheartedly.
Okay. So that's a fascinating question, and if I asked it a year from today, I promise you your answers would be slightly different, because this is an evolving idea.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, there are lots of small businesses that say, well, you know, I want to spend $2,500 or $5,000, have a website. Should I not have a website? Should I have a platform? Tell me, yes or no? Yes or no?
Not necessarily.
Okay, yes or no?
It depends on the business.
Okay, all right.
Like
All right, I'll let you get away with that right now. All right, we're going to go on here to one more question and make sure that in the face of change, here's a great concept. In the face of change, the merely competent are almost helpless. I want to use that phrase, merely competent. All right? So competent people usually get stuck in a rut that leads to mediocrity. Remember how we always used to talk about customer satisfaction? Now it's customer delight, right? Some kind of audaciousness, passion tends to be now the thing that we need to be looking for. How do we attract passionate people, audacious people with fresh perceptions, creativity? I'm going to come to an economic development director because I'm sure this is something you've thought about before. How do we attract these special people that are excited and passionate and don't just say, give me the job description and I'll do whatever you tell me to do?
Well,
How do we get those people?
Well, I think first of all, it starts with where you're looking for those people, you know, and so targeting again the right audience. And so, but even the basics of the way you write your job description, the way that you communicate with those that you're interviewing, you need to mirror what you're looking for and recognize.
Project it then, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You be passionate, you'll attract passionate people to you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A little bit law of attraction there. What do you think, Jason?
So I mean, I agree with that as part of it, but I think really what it is it's making sure that your brand is associating with whatever it is that you're wanting to bring out, right? So, and you can find that, although I don't agree with everything that's in that book, the 22 Immutable Laws of Branding talks about that specifically, is that brand value is driven based off of who the brand is representing, right? Or what the purpose of the brand is.
And the kind of people they're attracting, hopefully, right?
And so then once you have that set and you start putting that story out there, putting who that brand is out there, you begin to attract the people that are wanting that type of thing in their life. And so, exactly. And so, I mean, you may have a brand that's focused on providing Cheetos to third grade kids in whatever state, and you happen to have people that like that. Not everybody's going to, I wouldn't.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Well, let me ask you this now. You're talking about customers and employees. Let me ask you this. Do you know anybody that is actively right now, and again, we're getting down to the end of the show, so we're going to have to be quick on this. Anybody that is indulging consciously in employee marketing? Not just recruiting or putting an ad out and saying job available or whatever, but literally marketing to employees with the same intensity and focus and all that as we market to customers. David Sawyer, what do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we have in our community, for example, as I mentioned before, we're an ag community, and so we have a number, and just like the rest of the state of Nebraska, we're having a hard time finding employees, right? Yeah. And so we have jobs that are unfilled.
So you have to think like a marketer all of a sudden now,
that's
right? Don't you?
And
Absolutely.
And so how do we? So we don't just talk about the job in our area. We talk about what are the lifestyle attractions that might make you want to work in the Burwell area.
Sell the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Jason, real quickly, how does a company having trouble finding somebody, an employee, engage with employee marketing? Not just recruiting, but literally doing employee marketing.
So it means taking a step back and ensuring that your brand, your company is purposely built to meet that purpose.
Yes.
And then once you go from there, you do exactly what David talked about earlier, which is find the platforms which are based on communities that already has those users in there looking for that exact thing, and you start to drive your message with the people that care about the message.
Okay. Listen, as we're wrapping up, those are excellent answers. I have, you know, if I'm a viewer right now, I am learning a ton. I have to congratulate you on both. These answers are terrific. And I do get emails saying, wow, I'm learning a ton watching the show, and thank you so much for having people like you on the show, and we're really appreciating that. Now let me wrap this up by asking you one more thing. Branding, and bringing it down to one word, right? This particular show, it's kind of unusual. We don't have a business game show everywhere or every night. Give me one word that you think encapsulates what this show is, what it means, what it stands for, some stamp. And I want to hear it right now from you, Jason, and then we'll be wrapping up with you, David.
One word answer is learning.
Say it again.
Learning.
Learning.
That's the purpose, right?
All right.
Is that you have us up here talking about all this stuff in order for people to learn and grow and prosper, and that's who they are.
And leaders love to learn, and learners love to lead. I got that little thing for you. David, how would you distill this show and this experience down into one word that you describe to somebody up in Burwell and say, hey, you got to see the show?
How about just wow, you know?
Huh?
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but self-improvement, you know, learning about others' perspectives, and you know.
All right, getting it out there.
Yep.
And fusing, see, that's the cool thing. I love to watch the both of you thread on your respective thoughts.
Yep.
I thank you so much. I'm Lynn Hinderwalker with WOWBIZ Super Quiz. This has been another great show. They tend to get better and better. I get these great experts. Thank you so much for your incredible contribution. David Sawyer from Burwell, awesome job, man. Thanks for coming down here. We'll see you again on WOWBIZ Super Quiz. Take care now. Bye-bye.